fresco. I write stuff. I draw stuff apparently too, and I also broadcast. This is not. I just realized doing an interview, I don't just podcast anymore. I broadcast. And my guest is the incredible Elsa Garagarza. Elsa is an animation director, if I'm not mistaken, at Warner Brothers.
I'm storyboard artist director. I'm not currently directing right now. I'm working as a storyboard artist. But yes,
okay.
Warner Brothers.
Yes, so storyboard artist, Warner Brothers. She has done such awesome stuff as Avatar: The Last Airbender, and my personal favorite, Green Lantern Corps, because we just really clicked on that last time. And today, we're doing Alice in Wonderland today. So I'm going to actually do this real quick before we. Hold on a second here. There's something I didn't do here. There we go. No. Oh, I screwed up. There you go. There you go.
God, yes. Now we're together.
Now we're together. Okay, so to show everybody, so this is the annotated Alice in Wonderland. This is what I've been using to read from one of my books, Alice 1. But what I really love about it are the illustrations in there. And the illustration I'm going to be drawing is based on this.
Excellent.
Alice in McGriffin.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's going to be what I'm doing tonight. I'm going to try to get this right. Now, obviously, I'm still really getting the hang of this. I haven't figured everything out, so it may not look exactly the same. But that's not really the point. The point is to have fun and have a good time.
It's the journey. Journey.
Yeah, exactly. So, but Elsa here does this all the time for a living. So I gotta ask this. This is something I'm thinking about this. I've done some storyboarding in the past. My stick figures were revolting against me a little bit when I was going on, but still, I get the idea. So with you, it's almost like you're doing a comic, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is in the way. It is like a comic because you are doing the story beats. You're choosing your camera angles. You're choosing what you're. But if it is sequential storytelling, it's just that in animation you have to add all the pre-poses and kind of like you go more in depth with the motion. And in comics, it's more like on the illustrator side where you pick the perfect beat that explains what action's happening. So you can't rely on the motion. Sometimes, yes, you do panel 1, 2, 3 of certain things when you want to explain a particular beat of a certain action. Like if a character is going to do a flick and you want to build a little bit of tension, you add the before and then the after maybe. But you have to, in comics, you have to choose what's the best image that's going to tell my story because I need to move this along. You have so many pages in a comic book, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I think that's the big difference. And the thing I want to actually talk about, like when you draw, so comics is about creating the illusion of time.
Yes, exactly.
Right, the illusion of time. What you do is you're showing how the time is filled. Is that an accurate difference?
Well, you are using time on animation. So yeah, you have the luxury of you have the time. So you have to you're using every single second of it. You have all those frames that you use to tell your story. So you have the motion. So yeah, it is moving pictures. So so you can go as in depth as you want when you're storyboarding. Like there's a point when you storyboard it, you're supposed to choose the you're not supposed to do all the animation. You do the beats that tell the story the best. Sometimes and then the animator will fill in every single with every single frame. They will cover all the motion. So yeah, you do have time. You're telling is like in this moment I want. When you're building your boards and then you're building the animatic for the animators, you are like saying in this moment this needs to happen because you are using time. And on a comic book you are telling that, but you don't have that. You're implying what the time is.
So I'm going to ask another just fun technical question, then we'll get to some of the fun stuff like what you're like, not necessarily what you can talk about what you're doing now, but some stuff you've done in the past for sure. So for you to create like a minute on the screen, how much storyboarding does it usually take to do 1 minute?
You know what? It really depends. As a director, you have to keep track of the time that you're doing. And if you're handing out to your storyboard artist, you're like, okay, I know that this section is gonna take so roughly 2 minutes, and this section would be more intense. It depends. To answer technically your question, it depends on how much action is happening. Because when you have like a battle sequence, and you fill in the blanks of a lot of things. A lot of things can happen in a fight. If you look like a martial arts fight, and 1 minute, so much happens in 1 minute.
Absolutely.
Well, let's break it down in smaller time. No, a minute. Sorry. Yeah. In a minute, a lot of stuff's happening. The character goes, jumps, and then uppercuts, and then the other character blocks everything. So you're adding a lot of like, okay, this is when the character blocks, and this is when the character sweeps, and then the character like has a moment where he's like, oh god, and then he leaps back. He does a backflip. So there's a lot of drawing that is involved in action beats. Or I was doing a chase sequence, a car chase sequence. So you have like the moment where you're cutting to the guy finding out, oh, he's chasing me, and then you cut to the wheel, So at least you have a couple. Whenever you cut, you maybe have like a couple of beats of like when the guy grabs the wheel and then turns it, So all those drawings explain all that. And by the way, I'm sorry for my kids. They're playing video games out there. So if you hear Panther, they're playing a Lego video game. So they're not fighting. They're fighting in the game.
Lego video games are so freaking cool.
Yes.
Actually, here's the thing. Like I've been getting familiar with Twitch, and one of my favorite streams to watch is Minecraft, which is kind of like it's like digital Lego is what it is. It's you're taking stuff apart and you're building these elaborate things. Yes. I am of the belief that Lego is still the coolest toy in the universe.
Oh, it's super cool.
By far.
The movie that I directed was a Lego movie with DC girls, and friends of mine were working side by side. There were other productions of all other Lego movies that were being done. It's funny, it's witty, it's and we were producing very beautiful. Technically, it was like very well lit and very well animated. So I was really proud of working with my friends. Other friends were directing Lego Flash and Lego Aquaman, and I just think Lego it hits all the spots.
Absolutely.
And the games, my kids love it. They love playing with Lego. So, I'm not advertising, but yeah, it's good.
Lego Star Wars is still my favorite. I do all due respect to Lego Batman. Lego Star Wars is still my favorite. I love unlocking the Emperor because the Emperor just like does the Force lightning. I'm sorry.
I haven't watched it, but I want to watch it. No, I believe you. All I can say is I believe you.
Yeah. So, actually, what I wanted to actually ask you then, because it sounds to me like this is actually probably very similar to writing in this one regard, and that's this. When you're doing an action scene, I bet you the depth of detail is a lot more than a quieter scene. Right? Whereas, and it's funny because the way it works in writing is if I'm describing an action scene, the more detail I put into it, the quicker it happens.
Yeah.
Right? And the less detail I put something in, the less, like the more time actually goes by. Is it the same?
Depends on what kind of a battle is. If it's like the main big fight, there's a lot of beats that you want to cover, and if we can have like a conversation. Sometimes we don't have conversations with the writers because the writers moved on to something else. So we rely on the producer and the director that they had those conversations with the writers. Depends on how many beats and how important the fight is. And there sometimes writers, because they just give us. There are some writers that give us like a hint and say, okay, this is what we want to happen. These guys win, these guys lose, these guys, and they give you. It depends on the writer, on the way that they tell the story. But it also, as I say, depends on the exact moment, how important that fight is, and the moments of realization that your characters are going to have. If it's a fight where they're getting defeated because it's not the main fight, then it's like this happens, the character gets overpowered, and he gets frustrated. But if it's like the main fight, it depends on how big the fight is. If it's like an alley fight, is much different than a huge monster that's coming to Metropolis and he's going to wipe out. And then there's people that are getting in danger, and then your hero is realizing at that moment, oh my god, these people are counting on me. Or that's normally on those fights. There are moments of realization in that fight. And depends on how many beats you're covering, and those conversations you already had them with your producer. Hopefully you get to talk to the writer, but sometimes we don't. Maybe we can talk to the head writer, but by that time the producer already talked to them. So we're like, okay, we need to cover these beats. How many beats are we going to cover? So that's what tells you how much time it is, how much time you need to spend on it.
Okay, So okay, that's interesting because
multi-layers of things
no,
that
because again, I'm thinking about this strictly from a storytelling point of view at this point, right? So when I'm writing a battle scene in a novel, it can be pages, like pages and pages of just saying the scene, the dynamic, the battle. Sometimes it can be simpler, right? Like an alley fight is much simpler than like a big fight, like what you're talking about.
yeah.
But usually when I'm doing an action scene, right, it's literally it can be a page for like 30 seconds, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes though, let's say if I'm doing like a simpler action, like baking a cake,
Hmm.
right? Baking
Yeah.
a cake that can take a long time, but I can do that in
Yeah.
2 or 3 sentences.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I imagine with animation, it's the same thing. Like when you bake that cake, like you can literally do like a clock effect if you want to, or something like that, and you can just go through time like that. It's like, okay, we're gonna cheat. We're gonna do.
Yeah.
On the other hand, what I love about say Japanese animation, for example, like
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
the epic cooking battle stuff is just
Yes, the Miyazaki movies where the
yeah.
frying of the fish is part of the storytelling because they always include it, and actually, and you want to watch it. The thing about there's also another element that you want to do when you're cutting corners on animation is because you want to save the animation resources, or your budget for the big thing. How important is the baking of the cake? If the baking of the cake has a big story plot that your character, your hero, or your villain maybe is coming to a realization, so maybe you want to cut it on the on the baking, like maybe on the window of the oven, because that moment is when it's gears are cranking. So that baking of the cake is not just a cake baking, it's a moment when your story plot is happening. Sometimes it's just like something that the character is doing while they're thinking of something else, so no, you will cut away, you don't have to show that. So it just depends on how important the baking of the cake is to the to the plot that's moving, because sometimes, like, when it's rising, maybe it's symbolic to anger rising in your character, then you will cut to that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I like story is everything. It just sounds to me like, especially story determines everything you draw and the detail and the depth. But going back to my original question in one sense, if you were to give yourself an average, like just an average, like from a storyboard percentage, like how many storyboards do you do? I realize it varies on psychology, but if you were to average it,
I know what you're asking me.
yeah.
Yeah. If, for example, for on a, like, if I'm gonna work on a episode, or a section of a movie that I'm working on, like, let's say that there's three, it's a 30-minute episode, 27-minute episode,
Yeah.
and where there's three storyboard artists, the best, and we have like maybe 5 to 6 weeks working per section. Our sections, the most that you should have is, or you it's very manageable, will be around 9 pages of script to up to 11. 11 is a little bit too much, depends also on what's happening, but 9 to 11 pages, it's enough of a load. If I'm working on a movie, and I'm working on direct-to-video movies, so the schedule is tighter. It's not a theatrical release. Theatrical release movies, they work for longer, and they take a lot of time to figure out the story, where the story is going, because it's a bigger production. I don't have that much experience on those, but on this direct-to-movie that take like 2 years, and it takes like 4 months to storyboard them from beginning to final animatic. That goes to animation. There's like maybe 7 to 9 board artists, and still the amount that we get, that it's very doable. Anything more will be like really rushing it, and it's very heavy handed. Would be like around 9 to maybe tops 11 pages of script.
Okay.
So that's when if I know that on something like that, on a project, any of that, 30 minutes, or a movie, when there's more board artists, if I'm gonna be getting like more pages of script to board, it's gonna be like less time for me to add details or enrich the story. Well, not enrich the story, I don't want to say that, because you try to cover your beats, but you add less bells and whistles. Maybe a revisionist is going to have to come and add the bells and whistles, like those tiny mini reactions, because I don't want to downplay that quiet dramatic scenes are not important, but you on those scenes, what you do is, like, you try to enhance the moments where the character is saying something, and then maybe squints a little bit or frowns, or those little reactions that really sell the story. So so you have less time to take care of those little details.
Yeah, and some of those are like make or break. Like one of my
Yeah,
favorite, or like one of my favorite
yeah,
cartoonists of all time is Chuck Jones.
I know. Yes, I
Yeah,
know.
we
Yeah,
talked about
of
that
course.
last time, but the eyes were
The
such a
eyes,
big part
that
of.
little green that greens a little bit more, and then it greens a little bit more. It's telling a lot of
Oh
a lot
yeah,
about that.
my personal favorite is whenever they like the characters thought they were going crazy, because you had that
Uh,
moment. You had that moment. They had that moment of
yeah,
like, is this really happening? It's
yeah,
not a dream. This is
yeah,
really happening. If it's and
yeah.
there's this one scene in particular. There's this cat like being driven crazy by these two mice. So the first time they got him, he looked around. He went to the catnip, threw it away. He sort of got I never will do this again. And it was just such a realistic, like, okay, yeah, like you know what? I've gone down this path too much. I need to stop. And it was great storytelling, which is
I
again,
know.
which is what you do. You are a storyteller, and you do
But
some of the coolest. Like I still am amazed. Like you did Avatar. Like that is like that's an incredible thing.
on that movie, I was on category of background designer. Then I became background this supervising background designer. So I was on another department. But that's the show that inspired me to become a board artist, because I'm like, I love this. Story is where it's at for me, because I get to tell a story and move the camera, and acting. It has the acting thing. It has the feelings. Not that backgrounds don't, because if you don't have a background, you don't get the story. There's just a without background. But I wanted to be part of the movement of the camera that was
Yeah,
telling everything.
yeah. Well, actually, it's funny because I had Mog on right last week, and the thing about her, like she does stuff, she'd set stuff for Game of Thrones.
Yes, I
Uh,
know.
yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah, which is just amazing, right? But I realized this like after talking to her and also talking to you, right? That is so important. To actually, the tone of the story
The
is
tone of the story.
completely on the set. The set makes or breaks it. You know what I
The
mean?
tone of the story, yeah, everything, and it's down to like certain effects and every. It's part of the embellishment, the physical embellishments of the story. It's like those tiny little effects when you're gonna wipe a camera and you choose the effect style for down to those details, all tell the story, and that's not even getting into the topic of music and all that stuff. So
Oh
yeah,
no, that like if you want to talk like cutting corner stuff, music, although very important, you can go do without. It's what you see in front of you, right?
yeah,
There's
yeah, yeah.
so much to the subconscious what happens when you see something.
We're visual creatures, so yeah,
Yeah,
eyes are our first and foremost sense that we rely on. So yeah, visual. You start with that. That's what I
yeah.
do. That's what I do. I start with the visuals, and I love music. And my brother is a musician. I wish I was better at it, but I leave it to the professionals. But because I would love to like be able to know how to enhance mood using sound. But I just, as far as I go, is like sound effects. I was like, it would be cool to have this sound effect in this moment because it would really tell the story. I try to incorporate as much as I can of those things, because everything it helps you tell the story.
So I'm gonna ask this before we get into this. So what kind of music do you like? Like what's your what's the music that makes Elsa goes yeah?
Well, I was a super hard metal person in the 80s. So I am a metalhead, and with a hair
I
and all.
heart
I used
you.
to have the hair and all.
I
So
heart
yeah,
you. I heart
I
you very much.
yes, I'm a big Def Leppard, Whitesnake, and Motley Crue, Nikki Six.
Okay, okay.
Adore my beloved Nikki Six. So that always, like, because it gives me I was always a very energetic person, so I felt that music kept me on high energies. And actually, there were moments when my friends loved to listen to ballads, and I'm like, ballads, man, oh, it's bringing me down. I need to like keep it up because I was so energetic. So so I had a couple of at that time we were in high school at the end of the 80s, dating myself. But we would have like a pajama parties at, and they would start putting Air Supply, and they were all like start singing Air Supply songs, and my friend Priscilla and I were like, I need to Def Leppard it up, and we would just go to the car to listen to a little bit of Def Leppard, and then we go back in. But I also love soundtracks, movie soundtracks. I love orchestral compositions. I would hear. There was a moment when I was hearing the I was working on Batman Hush, and I was listening to the Wonder Woman soundtrack, the Gal Gadot movie, because there was a moment of no, actually I was working on another Wonder Woman movie, and it would inspire me that battle sequence, that Wonder Woman's her war cry, her song, her com- musical composition. It's not a song. It's not sung. But sorry, my kids are really battling
What's
it
the
out
name
there on
again?
Lego. They're playing Lego Jurassic World, so they're probably destroying each other as dinosaurs. So
You know what?
no one's dying.
There's nothing. You know what? I am totally for your kids destroying
Yes.
themselves with dinosaurs.
As long as they're not.
I don't even like. I'm not even like what's the term? I was a kid too, and for me, I actually in one sense I envied them because growing up I didn't have the luxury. My sister was with my mom, I was with my dad, and my dad and my mom are going through some they went through a very long time before they learned to trust each other enough for us to see each other again.
Yeah.
But I always enjoyed the competitiveness of video games. I can respect the fact that they're kicking each other's butt. So for me, let's see, metal. So for me today, Nightwish, kind of symphonic metal. I like symphonic metal, but the thing is, I will guarantee you would love their rendition of the Finnish national anthem.
Okay. Rendition
Right.
of Finnish national anthem.
Yeah, look up Nightwish.
Nightwish.
Just such a great band. They have one of their former singers, Tarja Turunen. She's really good. Like this, it's got this like operatic metal, and she's amazing.
Gotta check that out.
Yeah, she's amazing. Like she's incredible. It's like since you're a metal person, now okay, I gotta ask this: since you're '80s metal, Manowar, yes or no?
Yes. It wasn't on my top 10, but yes.
No.
Yeah.
I always bring them up because they are even today when I listen to them live, or I listen to them live, or I listen to them like on the Tegra. There's like that one song you just cannot help but grin because it's hair metal at its like epic, over the top.
I know.
Yeah, and I love that stuff. And but if I had to, for me, I tend to go symphonic. But if I do go heavy, it's like Viking metal. I like Amon Amarth. I like.
Yes, Viking metal. Yes, I was listening to Wardruna because of the Viking series and their stuff. That you know what? If the music has heavy, the rhythm section is like heavy. It has like big pounding bass drums and bass itself. Like amazing bass lines. I'm gonna love it. Yeah. That's something I adore.
Yes. Hey Shed, how you doing, buddy? But no, I like and the reason I love metal too. The cool thing about metal actually, a lot of those guys, a lot of people that did metal, they're actually I found the classical music references there.
Classically trained music, yeah. Some of them were classically trained musicians, there's a lot of referencing to classical music on.
Oh no,
yeah.
Tons of it, right? And they're students of music, so it's always neat to see what they come up with. It's almost like metal and jazz to me have always been like my personal phase, because metal and jazz have a tendency to be more experimental. Metal can go, jazz is almost like, I'm bending the rules. I'm just going to bend the rules of the song. I'm not going to break them. I'm going to bend them to kind of see where the song can go.
It's very fluid. And my brother is a jazz musician, and he has played hardcore jazz, the one that is really hard to hear if you're not a musician, because every instrument is doing their thing. And I'm like, it's brilliant. It's hard to follow because it can be complex. But yes, they have the fluidity that they explore. They go into.
I find jazz musician warm-ups to be like, their warm-ups are incredible.
Yes.
They tend. That's when they are playing. They're just going their full range before they actually perform. And it's like, I have no idea where you just went, but that was incredible. It was incredible. And metal's almost the other way. Metal. I think it's not quite accurate, but jazz is almost like harmony, and metal is like discord. And they're both playing. Yeah. They're both playing in almost the same. As almost in the same bass, and it's actually really incredible to. That's why I like both genres like very much. Now, as far as soundtracks go, so for me, I have two. I'm a soft spot for. One's from when I was a kid. My dad and I went on a trip across Canada and the soundtrack we listened to was the Tarzan soundtrack. That one's a little underrated in my view anyway, because Phil Collins is actually really good at what he does.
This is great. Yeah.
He's really, really good. And a lot of people, I think, took that one for granted. Grant you, when you had the Lion King to follow, I don't think anybody would have, that would have been hard for anyone to follow.
It was massive.
Yeah, it's a hard one to follow, but that one's good. The other one though, the one that's more recent, I really like. I love Greatest Showman. I love the Greatest Showman soundtrack. Is incredible.
Oh, I haven't listened to that. I haven't listened to that.
It's in the movie. It's a big part of the movie itself, right? And the actors and actresses are singing it, and it's incredible stuff. There's a bunch of songs that are just such good pick-me-ups in real life. But I mean, the Hugh Jackman is like, you never realize how good of a singer he really is until you go there. Zendaya sings something in there, Rewrite the Stars, which is really cool. But all these songs are big, like going back to something you were talking about earlier in terms of music being part of the story. That movie would not work without the music. The music is almost another character in the story.
Yeah. You're completely right.
I love that soundtrack, right? So that's just a personal thing. Oh, and Blues Brothers, Where Art Thou? Absolutely. They're awesome.
It's part of the movie. Yeah, the music definitely there is part of the movie.
Yeah.
And with a lot of those, the music is, of any movie from the South stories, from the Deep South. Yeah, the music is definitely so ingrained. It depends on the cultures, have different kinds of like music, how ingrained it is. Like, Latin American music is so ingrained in all our lives. I'm like going on a tangent right now. I'm sorry, but the culture of the movie has a lot to do with also the how big a player the music is going to be. Like I've been watching Vikings. Well, I was watching Vikings for some time, then I stopped, and then I'm continuing. And yeah, of course, those heavy war songs from Wardruna, when you hear it, it's like a trance. You go in a trance when you listen to them.
Note to self: never go in the mosh pit with you. You'll fight. You'll be nasty in the mosh pit. You'll probably like my butt. Yeah, it's good to know. Just a note. I think I'd like to hang with you, but in the pit, you just be like this vicious woman.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I'd be like, afterwards, what happened? She elbowed me all night long. It's funny because I've been pushed around by 400-pound guys, but always the biggest challenges in the pit are the people with the most energy. They're not necessarily the biggest. They just don't stop all night long, and you're just like. At the end, it's like, that was an epic battle. I never want to do this.
I never want to do this again, but I survived it, and it's good because I'm a better man because of it. Yeah. It's that sounds like, because that's where the music is. You're close to the stage. The energy is right there. There's like big music blasting into that area. So yeah, everything's heightened.
Shed, you're not too old for the mosh pit. What you do is you go on the outside of it and you help people up. That's what happens in the mosh pit. You just get to that point where you're just like, that's what you do. I'm 40 and I can still go in the mosh pit and I'm totally fine with it. This is just me. If I have to work tomorrow, the next day, I just up front just tell them I ain't going fast. That's it. That's just it. If I don't have to work, naps rule. Naps just totally rule.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm gonna ask you. I showed you what I'm doing with Alice.
What
are you doing with Alice?
This is what I'm gonna do. I didn't finish one eye, but I will show you. I've always wanted to draw this, and because I'm gonna do this with my markers. I prepped. I'm just missing an eye, but I prepped Johnny Depp for that iconic poster shot. So the colors are so out of the world, and my markers are also like incredibly saturated. So I want to see what's gonna happen.
Okay, wow. So this is gonna be fun to see what you do. So do you want to switch the camera so your stuff? We'll keep talking because we're gonna keep talking. But
yes,
go for it.
Yeah. I just wanted to say also 60s, late 60s, early 70s rock rules.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that.
Yes, it does. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that when we switch over. Perfect Circle is a great band there, Shed. I really enjoy them. I actually prefer Perfect Circle to Tool. I like Tool. I like
yeah.
but I actually prefer Perfect Circle. Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd, yes, exactly. Yeah, I know that will take you places mentally. Pink Floyd will always take you on some spiritual journey that you may or may not want. But
oh, by the way, just to show you, I always show this. This is my sister got me this as a present. It says New Beginnings.
Nice.
There. So I like, for me, this has been such a strange thing to actually come out of your comfort zone in such a public way like this. But it's been fun. I've learned so much doing it.
I want everybody to know that I've never done this like a drawing. Most artists, like they freeze when somebody's watching over them. I've never done it. I'm eerily relaxed.
Yeah.
I might make a mistake.
But hey, listen, that's okay. See, here's the thing. You're so good, we're probably not going to notice your mistakes as much as you would notice my mistakes. We beat ourselves up, honestly, far more.
We do. We're perfectionists. Yeah, I mean, a lot of artists tend to be perfectionists, and I am. But I'm ready to have fun with this and experiment. I'm gonna turn on these lights, and
I'm gonna ask Chet, which one do you want to try in October? Myself or Elsa here, or both? I'm asking him to answer that question. It's actually cool to get this interaction on.
I think October. That sounds like that sounds like a fun idea. Yeah. I like it. I like you, Shed.
Yeah. Yes. So both. Yeah. Okay, Shed. I will. I totally will. Next year, I will do something for October. I actually got to do something. I've actually been playing with drawing shit, literally. So I was requested to do drink and draw. Have the Grinch take a dump on 2020. But but honestly, the best way to actually draw shit is to smoke. I realize it's actually that tells a story of what's going on. I never thought I'd be talking about this on the air, but that's okay. This is the way it goes.
I'm loving the idea.
Yeah, no, it's like so. I'm gonna put make it 2020. I'm gonna have the Grinch just doing like the Grinch's smile. I figured out how the Grinch's smile works for actually doing mug. So I get the smile. He's walking away, or with the dog with the antler, and then behind him is gonna be like this pile in the zeros, and it's just gonna be smoking up. Right, that's gonna be my naughty Santa for the year because actually the Grinch is very fun to draw. I have to say, very, very fun to draw. And number two, if that's not Santa, I mean, seriously, Santa Claus this year would probably be Grinchy himself, just because the year's gone. So
I love those takes. Yeah.
So it's the little smoke parts, which is actually very, very interesting to me. That's the magic thing. Hold on, see, corporate seems to. Oh wow! So he's talking about his dad. His dad has actually been a graphic artist, but he's been doing mixed media, but mostly airbrush, which is cool. Well, Shed, I'm literally just starting now. I've been just playing with it for the last few weeks with various different people. Elsa has been doing this for a very long time.
I have an airbrush story. When I used to be a super perfectionist, I bought a tiny little. Yes, you're never too old to start because it's like exercise. Yeah. You just have to repeat it. Repetition, you learn. I bought when I was, as a teenager. I wanted to get into airbrushing, and I was so afraid. And this is a lesson that I want to teach everybody. I was so afraid that I was going to screw up my airbrush that I barely used it. And actually, it didn't. It ended up going bad because of no usage. And so I'm like, that was kind of like a lesson to me that you just gotta grab the markers and break them or whatever. Start using it and break your pencils or whatever. Just use it. Don't be too afraid to get into the
yes.
To to use your tools. The tools are meant to be used.
Yes.
So I'm like, why didn't I use that thing? I was so afraid of breaking or plugging my airbrush that I never really used it. How ridiculous is that? Mm-mm.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
No, I know it does. Shed, to answer your question, I'm using Restream.io to actually restream not just to Twitch, but also to my Facebook as well. And so it's a great program. I got to figure out how to fix the Restream.io thing, but it is me. It is, yeah. So it's great because it does multiple places at once. But it's also been like it's also I'm still learning that I've been learning lots of things since I've done this podcast this way. So that's pretty much the deal there. But yeah, no, I'm never too old to start. This is all about coming out of our comfort zones, right? And for me, this has been about having fun. And this has also been teaching me because I want to do comics, right? So and I realized that I could hire an artist, but that's always a pain in the butt, especially with a budget of little.
Budget, yeah.
And how to tell your stories yourself, and even if they're not the greatest stories in the world in terms of like storytelling techniques, right? It doesn't have to be. What it has to be, what it actually has to be, is I think people can feel the emotion when you're telling a story, and I think if you're very earnest about it, people pick up on it, even if it's not technically the best drawing.
The mood. It's important to focus on on telling the mood of it. Getting your beats and telling the mood successfully, because it could be a beautiful drawing, but if your story is not compelling and you don't know how to tell your beats, or your characters are not, people are not connecting to them, then the drawings might be beautiful, but the story is what drives everything.
Exactly.
And I've been actually I can draw, but I want to tell stories, and I am actually teaching myself how to write, because I would love to be able to tell my own story. Just because of that, I'm like, it would be hard, too much of a big of a production to pair up, and it's just hard. I want to be able to tell my own stories myself. Not that I wouldn't pair up with a writer, I would. It's just that I do want to do that. I want to learn how to tell my stories from the narrative standpoint.
I'll make you a deal. I'll make you a deal right here, right now. Right, and that's this. When you are ready to tell your story, if you want just someone in ear to bounce off of, I'll be your ear. And in return, when I have a story, when I finish doing my comic, I'll send it to you, right? And give me pointers to get better, because that'll sound like a deal. Pinky promise. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's what I do with my son. We pinky promise on it. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, that's right. Right. And Shed, you're absolutely right. Society discouraging art is one of the biggest things. But the biggest reason why I think society discourages art is because what art teaches us is empathy. And
that's a good point.
Yeah, it's really, and it's hard to hate people when you actually can understand them.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. That's a good point. And it's enriching, and it's I don't want to go into a political thing, but
no politics. No.
I don't want to go, but I think that art is enriching, and the best thing you can have in a society is a fully enriched society.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that that is the secret to just making things better, is if we all learn to understand each other, and the way to do it is drawing pretty pictures.
Oh, by the way, I just wanted to give this because my daughter made me promise that she made me up, and she put this necklace on me. So I just she wanted me to let everyone know that she worked on my image. I'm wearing my daughter.
Okay, no. What's your daughter's name?
Natalia.
Natalia, your mother's wearing it, and she's wearing it proud. Okay, that's the truth. We pinky promise on that one. That's a pinky promise.
That's a pretty, hearts. She put this heart necklace on me, so.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's incredible. So, I have started. So, I'm doing Alice in Wonderland because, to me, first off, Alice in Wonderland is fun, right?
Oh yeah, trippy story. What's not good about a trippy story? I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what the best episode of the Pink Panther is? The episode of the psychedelic episode. So.
Oh.
To me, that's the best. I don't know what it was called. It was like psicodelia rosa. It was called in Spanish. So it's psychedelic pink, it should be. So what's not to love about psychedelic tales? They enhance all the senses, the best colors, and everything shifts. All that kind of stuff. So I approve the theme.
It's amazing, actually. I haven't heard the Pink Panther. I love that theme music. The theme music of Pink Panther. Yeah, exactly.
All those 70s melodies, man. We could have an entire.
Oh, sure, we could. And hey, we might just talk about it. I mean, we've been talking about music. We've been talking about music all shift anyway. So
we shall. Lewis carols.
So,
yes.
So let's see. We talked about metal. We talked about jazz. Is there any music you don't like?
No. I as much as I was crapping on 80s ballads. I do love a good ballad. It's just that I normally like to keep my tempo higher. I think I'm a high tempo person, but no, I think I like a lot of folklore. I like to explore. You know what? Maybe I can say that unplugged stuff doesn't ring my bell because to me, I love big beats and big bass lines. So there's no, I don't. I don't think that there's music that I don't like. I like to listen to almost anything.
Okay.
I like to listen to almost anything.
Yeah. For me, the only thing I really don't like. Oh, that is so true. No, you talking about Lewis Carroll?
Yeah.
No, Carroll's been such a fascinating study. Interesting to know about Lewis Carroll. Douglas Adams is credited with Manhood 42, but actually Carroll did it first. And I found that out when I've been reading this. The Annotated Alice actually talks about the history of the. Wow, I didn't realize the dress was that simple, but also that complex at the same time. The base form of a dress is wide. Basically, it's a triangle, essentially, right? It's the details that make or break a dress, which is something I never considered until now.
Da, da, da. Very well. If I was a fully prepared person, I already would have had the main markers, but we do things on the fly too.
Oh, whatever.
As I say, I have an eyeless Johnny Depp right here.
Yes, right. You have an eyeless Johnny Depp.
I have an eyeless, well, half an eye. There we go.
Yeah. You have it too? That's cool, Shed. Yeah, Annotated Alice is what I've been using for research. I've been reading that in Greek mythology because that's my story. Alice is Pandora in my story.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, that's true.
Right, and there's a Pandora, but even with as a story, Alice always has a little bit of Pandora with her. And I thought, and then as I learned that, I was like, that's fascinating.
Okie dokie, moving my camera. And,
yeah, right.
And we're gonna
focus on you.
Sorry that I didn't. Next time I'll have a cage. I think it's better. You're gonna have to.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I have
all good.
A mini easel that I'm using to show what I'm doing, but okay. All right, well, let's start.
Yes, sir.
Let's do this, my friends. I'm gonna move this camera. Our broadcast to my side window, and I have in front of me. I have our good friend Johnny. A couple of images. Not the best if you're going to work on not the best image because this is very Photoshop, a little bit blurred, not very high res, but it's good enough for me to start working. But if you are a professional illustrator, we'll make its own photographies and we'll try to go with the best resolution possible so that you can capture all the beautiful details. But for the purpose of this,
yes,
this will suffice because we have enough information on color.
Yes, we do. So a friend of mine has asked the question. Shed has asked are you familiar with the Swedish metal band Sabaton?
No, I'm not. I have heard of, but I'm not familiar. I will write down and I will check out Sabaton.
You have been a fountain of knowledge, Mr. Shed. It's been awesome to have you on there tonight. Thanks for coming.
Yes,
by the way. That really appreciate you actually showed up. I hope this has lived up to the hype, at least, So I've had a blast. Either way, I'm having a blast with this opportunity because it's not every day that you get, like I said, someone of your caliber. I mean,
you're amazing. Thank you.
Casually, just coming off to us. Hey, I just did Wonder Woman. By the way, Ed, is that surreal to you even now? Like the fact that you've done that kind of thing, or have you gotten used to it?
I'm gonna tell you the real thing. That there's a. I'm gonna tell you that when a little to answer that question, I'm gonna round about with a little thing about me. That when I was watching when Disney had its second wave of animation, its second golden age with the Little Mermaid and the Lion King and everything, especially with the Lion King. There was a moment when I was watching the Lion King and it was such a beautiful movie, and I was the music was so, I saw it in the theaters, and the music was so fantastic that it resonated with everybody in the audience. And when Simba's dad died, sorry, spoiler alert, but by now you should know, Simba's dad died. People were crying and everything, and because you felt the music and the story and everything was so compelling, the animation was beautiful. And I was crying, not only because it was a very moving picture, a very well made movie, but because I was thinking, this is what I would love to do, and I will never get to do it. And I was crying kind of because of that. It's like, oh my God, I wish I was a part of this experience. At that moment, it was like thinking of animation. So to answer your question, I every day I'm grateful. And if people, by now, I have achieved what I always wanted to do, which is work in animation. So I am very grateful, and every day is like I try to find on every project something that's going to teach me something new, because some projects are more exciting than others.
Oh yeah.
But there's something you can learn, and I try to make it interesting, because I'm like, I could like not be here, not working on these beautiful projects. So I don't want to sound like sappy or anything, but
No.
no, to me it's very special that I work on this, and I try to remind myself, because there's people with different aspirations. They want to become something, escalate positions or anything. To me, I think I have achieved something that I really, really wanted. So as I say, it sounds happy, but no, I'm very fulfilled doing what I do, working on stories. And every
Yeah.
day that I work to tell a story is, to me, something new that I'm going to learn. So
Which is an awesome way to look at things. So I have
thank you.
another fun question. Of the stuff you've released, of the stuff you've written that you can actually talk about,
Talk about, yes.
yes, what's been your favorite? Or which one taught you the most? Either
Well,
or both.
or both. Yeah, I've learned a lot from a lot of people, and there's always something, because it's such a collaborative experience to work in animation. You work with so many talented people, and people with different disciplines. But I do have to say that Avatar: The Last Airbender was the one thing I thought when I graduated illustration, my fine arts major, not major, I mean, I studied the bachelor. I could have gone for the master's, but I wanted to study the basics. And after, when I finished my what I had on my eyesight was like, okay, I'll go as a designer, because I'm an architect, so I can do backgrounds and I can market myself as that, and then I can become a visual artist, a visual development artist, because that was like a big thing. It's, oh, visual development. But then I got into Avatar, and I thought, no, I think that it's not the design, it's the storytelling thing. And that's when I changed my career. So yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender was the project that inspired me to become a storyboard artist. And maybe if I haven't worked there, maybe I would still be working as a visual developer. But it's like those decisions that you think you map your word, your future. People tell you have to like picture yourself 5, 10, 15 years, and I'm like, yes, you can, say, okay, this is my tentative path. But you never know when what you get to one decision, and instead of continuing here, you take you take another direction, and this direction takes you to another completely different future. So
Oh yeah, totally. No, so
so
I mentioned this with Mog. Most of the things I've done in my life is done by accident. Like all
yeah,
of it, right?
right.
Most of them I've done by complete accident. I haven't actually sought some of this stuff out. Like I would not have done a podcast if it wasn't for the fact that Robert J. Sawyer actually said to me, we did an interview. I've been doing interviews for a long time, right? And what ended up happening was I don't even remember who he talked to. I couldn't for the life of me go, hey Rob, what are you doing? And Rob goes to them, oh, I got interviewed by Josh here about his podcast, and it was like I didn't have a podcast at that moment in time. Podcast, I don't know about, and I almost corrected them, and I didn't. Someone told me, it's like, you can do this. And here the thing about that to me was the thing that was incredible about that to me was here I am talking to somebody that has lived a life that a lot of people would dream about,
Thank
And
you.
yeah, no, and you know, and it's such a cool thing that and I can enjoy it and appreciate it just simply based on the fact that um, I realize it too. Like most of the time, like we all have these big dreams, and what I find is most of us. Now, this isn't true with all of us, mind you, but most of us never quite end up where we asked for.
Right? Yeah, because this you follow this path, and then this juncture right here, it seems like it's a tiny, maybe 2, 3, 4 degrees, but down the line that takes you to maybe another path, and it's fascinating. So you got to keep your ears open, your options open, or you got to be like limber to say, okay, I'm going to go down this, and then maybe that's the other future could have been like an amazing future, but then you're like, but this is an amazing future too. So call me an
Well,
optimist.
actually, what I was about to say was just like my best stuff is stuff I've never asked for. All the stuff I
Good.
asked for, all the stuff I asked for, and I just realized this actually just thinking about this. My best stuff was never anything I expected it to be. It was just me, just doing stuff and letting things happen, and that's it. Like that's been the whole. I was smart enough, and I've been smart enough to recognize that the idea of what's impossible to what is possible doesn't really apply to me. I don't look at it like that. I just look at it like if I do something, something will happen. Now, what that something is, who can say, right? I don't always know the answer to that question, right?
I think that's brilliant. Yeah, that's a good way of like. First of all, you're not disappointed. Then you keep yourself. Who was it? Einstein that says, "Stay curious."
Yes.
I think that that's the best way you can. That's a good way to live life. I'm not
Yep.
gonna say that that's the best. Maybe it's great for me, not great for you, not you, Josh, but someone else. But staying curious and always keeping yourself wondering, and oh my God, I think it's a good way to live life. At least it works for me.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to be curious. And if you're not curious, what are you doing, right? There's so much
Hmm.
wonder to life, and oh wow, I got is the Griffin's uh, form. I got actually pretty good. That's not too bad. The details, like hair, is surprisingly tough sometimes. I've learned, but
Oh, hair can be, yeah, 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 yeah. There's some effects and things like hair, because it's a cluster of infinitesimally small objects. Then yeah, there's shortcuts to techniques to do it. But yeah, hair is tough.
not always the easiest thing in the world to do. That's okay. Like I said, I'm not.
Water, part two, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just like. Oh, water is interesting. Water can be. You can do a lot with water with one line. It's when you want to get to do depth. Depth
Hmm.
kicks your ass with water.
Yes,
Yeah, depth kicks your ass with water. It's like wow.
yeah, it
I
is.
know what I'm doing. No, I don't. I thought I did, and now I realize that I suck, and that I'm sure has happened to many artists. Like I knew what I was doing, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, happy accidents happen too. So
oh, absolutely, no. Chocolate chip cookies is the greatest apps in the world. Shed, I haven't forgotten you at all. I'm gonna actually check out Sabaton myself, and then when and if the lockdown comes to an end, because I don't want to serve my Amazon overlords too much. Right? I'll definitely look them up because that seems like a lot of fun. The historical factual battles are good, so
good.
yeah, to listen to. So, but wow, Mr. Griffin is actually incredibly simple, surprisingly, anyway.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah,
I trust you, Josh.
yeah. Oh, I'm glad. I'm still learning how to trust myself, but I am surprised how much fun I'm actually having doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
right. I think that's been the biggest shock for me. Well, okay, it's the second biggest shock. Actually, no, I'm not gonna lie. You, Rich Perota, Buck Park, Anvu. It's like, wow, I got you all to come draw with me. It's like, wow.
I was so happy when you told me. It's like, oh, when you were saying, oh, I was doing a draw, and I'm like, oh, that would be fun to,
Yeah,
sit down and start doing, doodling.
yeah,
Thank you for
exactly. Well,
reminding me.
I looked at it well, the thing is, this is a like I looked at it as like as a podcast, And
It,
it's still technically a podcast, but it's actually more like a broadcast now.
yes. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, right. It's more like a broadcast now than instead of just a straight podcast. So I realized that this is a visual medium now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of people more visible than people that draw for a living, right?
Yes, yes, thank you so
Yeah,
much. It's a struggle. I had a quote and I threw it away, but it's really funny. And it's kind of like a little wordy, but it says like, do what you draw, do what you not do what you draw. I'm inserting myself in the quote. Do what you love for a living, and the boundary of let me find it. Let me find it. It's really funny. Do what you draw. Do what you draw. Again with me.
yeah. It's okay. It's what you love.
Yeah, do what you love for a living, and like your personal boundaries are going to be muddled. I'm gonna show. Hold on. Do what you love for a living. It's such a fun thing. Oh, guys, do what you love for a living. No, I'm finding a lot of really inspirational quotes, but this one was kind of sarcastic. That the thing is that you're going to be measuring yourself every time, every moment, because what you love is what you do. So there's no moment where you're not going to be kind of like second guessing or second. I'll find that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll find that, but then I'm gonna like not spend time drawing. But it's a fun quote because I'm like, in a way, it's kind of hard to follow that quote, but I'm like, yeah, you're measuring your personal self and your professional self are one and the same. So, but you know what? I would never like to not do what I'm doing for a living because I think I it fulfills me. So
And you know what? You can't deny that, right? It's an
mhm.
incredible thing. And for me, I found this is made. So my current story is called Lights Out. It's a little homage to Fahrenheit 451 and Nightfall by Isaac Asimov.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've learned, right, from doing this has actually impacted that work specifically because I'm using a lot of stuff like with blank pages and inks and pencils
Nice,
as imagery for the story.
cool.
And I realized that came as a result of doing this. This is why I'm thinking in these terms. Ergo, I am writing in those terms. But I also found it's also made me a better writer because I now look at details a little differently than when I started.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Once you start, checking on the other hats of the other parts of your production, then your vision is expanded. Oopsie. These markers are not the best markers. They are, commercial on supplies. They are cheap, but it's good because I'm experienced. It makes it fun. You're not like, oh my god, I'm gonna break my Copics. No, but yeah, your tools are very important. So you will get different things out of different tools.
Yes, you will.
So let's just start laying out some colors. I'm doing this like on the slow, taking a slow approach, not using very dark colors so that I don't like ruin the possibilities of the
Yeah.
colors, because markers unfortunately only have one tone. You cannot, there's no color mixing.
Yeah. Whereas I'm just using a pencil, which, by the way, is probably for me right now a good thing. Color is very complex.
I was gonna do a pencil drawing, and you can it can take forever. Everything takes, if it's gonna have detail, it takes time. But I'm like, no, let's have a little risk. Let's do. I'm not I don't work with color, although I am a professional illustrator. I mean, a fine artist. I normally I don't dwell with color, so I am actually stepping out of a comfort zone here. My comfort zone. I was actually going to tell you, let's board something. Let's one day, maybe what we should do one day is like you write a very small story, and then we work on it. We kind of like do a small, like a mini story, or like a short story, and we can like board some beats together. I was thinking that could be fun.
No, it totally would be fun. I'd totally do that with you in a heartbeat.
Like work on a, like maybe do some like how to say a beat board, and we beat board it, like a tiny short story, like maybe a 2 minute story, a 2 minute short, and then we beat board it. That should be cool.
That'd be a lot of fun. Actually, I would request 8 minutes. I would like to try the Bugs Bunny style cartoon.
Oh, wow, good. That's good. I like how you think.
Yeah, well, I think. See, everybody now Simpsons in its heyday was genius. It really was. But for my money, I think the 8 minute Bugs Bunny cartoon
I see.
was the shit. Was totally the shit because you had 8 minutes, which is a lot of time to tell a full story.
Yeah.
Right, and they did it, and they did it. That's an interesting one. I'll try that, see how that works. But they had, they did that. They told a story in 8 minutes, and like I said, those guys knew what the heck they were doing. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I have never let the other big secret of life, ladies and gentlemen.
You never let it.
Not knowing what you're doing stop you.
Yep. Because by doing it, then you will know maybe what you should do, what you should not do. So no, don't let not knowing what you're doing stop you. That's how you start. Nobody started knowing anything.
Exactly.
We didn't start talking.
No. We just somebody tried something and they failed, and somebody tried again and they failed, and somebody probably made a very terrible fart joke and started laughing, and suddenly that's how language was formed.
Like it.
Yeah, fart jokes. Well, it was either fart jokes or sex jokes. I'm not sure which. Probably sex jokes, to be perfectly honest, but fart jokes sounds funnier. So I'll go with fart jokes.
Fart jokes it is. They are funny. People
will. Right.
Right.
Now you have a little bit more of an idea how I think. I don't take myself very seriously, as you can tell. I just tend to. I've learned that having fun is the real secret to it.
You know what? I think I don't take myself too serious. I try not to, because then you start second guessing yourself, and I don't like to do that, because I used to be super self-conscious. I come from a town where people are very conservative, and it's very important, the image that your image that you're projecting, and which is it is. I'm not gonna say it's not, but people just like overthink too much. Like,
well,
it's too much. You're hindering yourself from growth, I think.
I think it is important, but it isn't important at the same time.
Exactly, it is, but it isn't. I mean, don't let that because you're gonna make mistakes, and if any tiny mistake is going to be like the end of your ego, then we're in trouble.
Well, I had a mentor I used to work for. I'm not going to name names because we didn't end on the best of terms.
Oh, yeah, that happens.
It does happen. But he always cared about his reputation to such a degree that when someone ever pointed that out about me, it used to be a red flag with me. Because I think there's only very specific instances where that actually truly matters. And when I hear it, I tend to run. Now, that all said, what I've learned as I've gotten older is, yes, reputation does matter. But I also learned that you can also set some ground rules for your reputation.
Yeah.
By just doing certain things. I'm pretty authentic. I'm pretty, like, what you see is what you get. Like, I don't BS you. I don't BS very much. I'm sure I'm not going to say I never BS, because that probably is a lie.
Yeah.
But I
you try not to.
I do my best not to. I do my best not to. What you see is what you get. I don't want people to to ever question. You might disagree with what I'm saying, but you never disagree with but if I get you I want you to be able to say, if I say something, I mean it. That that goes a long way. I also found that apparently my thinking there is very rare.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, I decided that I was going to be authentically me because, one,
Very important.
I forget shit.
Yes.
I forget shit. And I find that if you are authentic, you don't have to remember much because you're true to yourself, and people sense that. You can change your mind still; it happens, but people, general rule of thumb. I almost want to do this one again. No,
I totally
yeah,
vibe very well with people like you, with straight shooters. I respect that, and I try to hold myself because I'm not gonna tell you that there are times when you're like, oh my god, you guard
conflict.
yourself, but I try to
I,
be honest and truthful in everything. I
I,
try.
I get the feeling for you, problems are sometimes hard for you because for you are try to be. You generally are a really sweet person, but every
Thank
once in
you.
a while, you know, boundaries get crossed by accident sometimes, and sometimes you have to say something. And you probably I don't know if this is true anymore. Probably once upon a time, you let people probably get away with a little bit more than they
Oh
probably
yeah.
should have, right?
Yeah. I was like brought up to be like very polite and not rock boats and
Yeah,
like uh, yeah. So I try not to do that and not to be that person. I try to like have a healthy ego.
yeah,
So it's not that it's unhealthy, but you go with the flow, not rock the boat.
yeah,
I
exactly.
I try, and that is why I admire, straight shooters, and I like to, I trust them, and I like to work with them.
Well, that's
So,
good to know. I'll come up with a
um,
really good idea and come up and get you to work with me then, because that sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah,
Yeah,
I admire that kind of courage.
yeah. Well, you have to like. Here's the thing. Like, as I've gotten older, we'll leave wiser, just smarter people than myself. But older, I recommend. I just don't have time for a lot of BS. I would rather look. I may not like where you're coming from, but I
Hmm.
always respect where you stand. Right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
always respect that. If I have questions about where you stand, right, then I can't respect you. Not to the degree, not to the degree I want to.
Yeah.
And as I get older, I have less and less time for that bullshit. So it's like, you know what? Where do you stand? Yes, no. I also hate
Yeah.
small talk. We haven't done a lot of small talk. You know, this is very in our entire association. And
Yeah.
the reason being is because frankly, I can't stand it. It doesn't tell me anything about you, anything interesting
Yeah.
about you. I don't like
Yeah.
you. You know,
Uh,
I'd rather learn who you are, what makes you tick, what makes you interesting,
hmm.
right? Because that is far more interesting to me than say, you know, someone is gonna tell me, something about how about them sports team over there.
Yeah.
I truly I like sports, but I truly don't give a rat's ass about the sports team.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah.
Right? I'd
Yeah.
rather get to know you and
And yeah, as you say, what makes you tick? What's 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 the deal with you?
exactly. And if I like you, I'll keep coming back. If I like,
Hmm. Yeah, we can keep having chats and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And if I don't like you, well, that's okay too. I'm not meant to like everybody.
Yeah, and
Even,
then
even
there's
I don't
people.
like everybody, right? But
No, no one does. No one does. You can't like somebody that you really don't see eye to eye with, and that doesn't mean that that person is like
no,
wrong. Maybe they are. Maybe, but
they're
in
always wrong.
general.
No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, it's not that like we're not. There are 8 billion people on this planet.
Hmm.
And with 8 billion people on this planet, I mean, we can't like everybody. We're just not. We're not meant to. Everybody,
No.
we're here all here for different reasons. And what you got to recognize is what those different reasons are. Um, I'm here to tell stories, listen to people's stories. You know, try to draw a woman in a dress running from with a griffin. And if nothing else, I have learned an awful lot about color doing this tonight, and that is a
Yeah.
good thing. I don't
Yeah.
think I did a bad job, actually. I don't actually think I did a bad job, but this is one of those situations where I think a pen would have done me a lot of service in this one. Because also,
A
on
pen?
if you're watching this, if you are watching this, I learned you were right about shading and colors and different wavelengths on the pencils. They
Oh
do.
yeah.
On was a genius. She was totally right about that, and I figured out hair, which is kind of cool. At least long black hair. I figured it out, and,
Yeah.
and which is I'll take it. Right? It is what it is. But it like for the first time doing this, that wasn't actually that terrible, right? I learned some stuff.
Pat yourself on the back. Yeah, because you gotta get, as I used to say, think, you gotta get, you're gonna have your first drawings are experimental. Let's just call them bad drawings. I don't want to be mean to them, but you can call them I call them bad drawings. You get the bad ones out of the way so that the good ones can start coming out. That's how I see it. It's like
Well,
let's
it's like storytelling's the same way. I mean, you tell stories the exact same way. You write and get a lot of bad words out sometimes,
yep, yeah, yeah.
right?
And you know what, it's like a and also at the same time I respect those bad drawings and bad words and bad stuff because they, it's you got to respect them. I'm not going to hate something awful. I used to, but it's like, oh my god, at that time I was so bad. No, respect your journey, because whatever you achieve and accomplish, and it's because of that hard work. It's hard work, and I respect I want to love every single drawing, even if it was a bad one, because they taught me a lesson.
Well, I also do commentaries, right? So this one's saying markers, dang it, markers.
Markers.
Yeah, yeah, or ink for ink. Like honestly, black like a black and white thing with like the guy. I just realized how much ink he put on there with Mr. Griffin, right? Come on, said the Griffin. Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass is just amazing stuff. Just totally, totally amazing stuff. And I'm looking at this. The reason also I picked this book too. This isn't Alice as a blonde. This is Alice as a black haired girl, and which is something that's in my wheelhouse. I'm playing with black and white colors and pens and shapes and stuff like that. And
that's good.
yeah, so.
Okay.
So looking at this, there's a lot of there's some things I don't, but I really can't say I did a terrible job. I can live with that.
No.
I can live with that. I'm going to do another Alice picture while you're working on Mr. Depth there, Mr. Mad Hatter.
Mm-hmm.
So you like the Mad Hatter? Is he your favorite character in Alice in Wonderland?
I think I do like him. I for the moment right now, this one I chose for the wacky colors because I just I find it mesmerizing. But no, yeah, the Mad Hatter is my favorite though was the Cheshire Cat, just because I love cats. But
Cheshire Cat is awesome.
It's awesome, and I just love cats. Cats are awesome. I'm a cat person. I used to rescue lots of kittens. That because in Mexico, not everybody, at least before, they didn't used to spay or neuter their cats. So a lot of cats will be outdoor cats, and they would breed, and there would be stray kittens everywhere. The ones that got loose from their mummies, and I used to nurse them back to health. So I got to love cats.
Ah.
Yeah, I understand them. I don't want to call myself a cat whisperer, but I do understand their language.
Yeah, no, I'm more of a cat. I do like dogs, but I like cats more. Cats are a little more independent. They're smarter, generally smarter at least. And they have their own personality a lot more. Like they don't rely on you.
Well, the reason that I think that they look a little, smarter is because, they're not pack animals, so they fend for themselves. So one has to be like a self-contained unit of survival instead of dogs that are, they have a hierarchy and a structure. So, you have the alphas and There was this documentary that I was watching on wolves, that they're actually, some of the beta wolves, but they were like kind of like the ones who not entertained, but they kept the morale of the pack. They do have like, so they can fulfill a role, whereas cats, they're their own thing. So
Yeah,
that's why I think that's why they look smarter, but because they're like they fend for themselves.
I think it's also because they're secretly plotting to do nasty things to us.
And that too, if they can maybe cause a little, throw a little brick down your road, they
But
will.
I'll tell you, I had a short-haired common cat.
Oh.
His name was Saber. His claws were huge, right? So he was a natural hunter, but when we wasn't chasing food,
Mm-hmm.
I was the one feeding him.
Oh.
So what he would do to make sure that I fed him at 7 o'clock
Ha.
every
Uh-huh.
day. I didn't want to wake up, and he knew it too. He's like, I gotta wake this bastard up. He would nibble on my toes.
Oh.
Smart guy. He was a smart cat. Like he really, really was a smart cat, and bit of a troublemaker. But they usually the best ones are, right?
Yes, usually the best ones are, yeah.
Right. And
What happened to him?
well, he we moved a lot. We moved around an awful lot.
Uh-huh.
And the thing is, and this is why I haven't gotten a cat since. I'm still wandering and moving around and doing a lot about, right? I haven't
Mm-hmm.
settled down. And I don't know if I'm ever going to actually settle down like in a proper way. I'm not sure. Like maybe at some point I will,
Mm-hmm.
but right now that's not the case. And I think to myself, honestly, right? If I had an animal and I was traveling across the country, what would that do to the animal, right? It's not fair. So for now at least,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to have a pet. Now maybe down the road, right, when this podcast is a worldwide phenomenon,
Yes.
we're
Amen.
yeah, when people come far and wide to watch me come into town in their mystery machines, and I'm talking to some of the best and most interesting people who have made their dreams come true.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I applaud you more than you'll ever know for that. Um, the fact of the matter is, right, that maybe at that point I have an animal that can go with me on the road. Maybe, right? But I look at it now like if I take a pet, I'm responsible for it, and
Yeah.
I don't want to put a pet I care about in a position where you know where they're not going to get the right care or provided in the right way. And as long as I'm on the road like I am, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
be able to take care of an animal the way it deserves. So until I can, right, I'll leave it be for now. Now down the road, we'll see. Like down the road, I think maybe I get a pet, maybe.
I'm gonna devil's advocate there a little bit, because I think that a pet, as long as you're taking care of them, they would like be there with you, because because they adapt easy. But you're right. You want to take care of them in a way that you can, that the best way possible. So maybe going down the road with an animal, it's not right now. It's not the best choice. It's not something you want to embark on. So you're doing. I think it's the right decision.
I think right now it's the right decision. Now maybe I'm a little bit better off in terms of financial. I'm a little bit better off in terms of um, being able to take care of some more things.
Yes,
Then
exactly. It's a matter of bandwidth.
yeah, and right now, I mean, I literally have just transformed my life. I destroyed my old life for a new one, right?
Yeah.
And I don't feel bad about that at all. Actually,
No.
I'm glad I did it. But thing is, right? People have this tendency to, and actually something I realized too. Like maybe, so I'm doing a temp job at a factory very similar to the one I worked at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a temp worker though, so I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I have no intention of staying.
Yeah.
It's interesting because for me, I'm at that point where I know my time is coming to an end in places like that,
Good.
right? And I don't want it anymore. And I think I know of one of my coworkers, it bothers him to some degree that I just don't. Because it's not a bad job. It's
No,
just
no.
not. It's just not
It's
what
not.
I want to do for the rest of my life. I've done it,
You have
right?
other plans. You have other plans.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
and I'm using it to set some things up. Like I said, I'll be advertising my books very
I love
shortly.
it. I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, you gotta have a plan to do your plan. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah,
You
it's a
got a way
plan
to
that's
do it.
gonna help another plan. Yeah,
Yeah, a way to do your plan, right? So,
exactly. Yeah.
so it
So
turns out my temp position is going to go probably a little longer than I anticipated. So I'm going to take advantage of it for the short term.
yeah,
But I'm also looking at, like, for me, I might be going back to school at some point down the road. I might. I've been thinking about it. Um,
good. Put a pin on it.
yeah, yeah. Like I've been thinking about it because it's just one of those things where it's just like maybe,
Mm-hmm.
maybe,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. What would you go back to school for? What would you?
Broadcasting or psychology?
No. Well, you're really good at psychology,
Yes.
but I think you will also rock at broadcasting. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you're really good at talking to people and
Yes.
getting people.
Yes.
And
And
that's I wish I was as good as you. I mean, of course, you have done the legwork. So, interviewing people, it's like a good way of understanding human behavior. So, all I'm trying to say is that I have like the biggest respect of people that know how to connect with people and understand.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, the secret is listening.
Yeah, it's true.
It's the secret. That's the secret. It's not rocket science. The secret is you got to recognize.
Mm.
Actually, so here's the thing. Here's my theory, and this is why I think I connect so well with people. Hold on a second here. I'm just seeing if anyone has communicated while I'm here.
Yeah.
No, then people have been sharing it. That's kind of cool. That's cool. People have been sharing this. This is kind of fun. So
Ah,
yeah, but the thing about it is, right? I always assume that anybody I'm with is just like me. They have
yeah,
the same thoughts, they have the same feelings. They might have different points of view of how they think the world works, but honestly, that doesn't really matter. What really matters is what we have in common, not
Mhm.
why we're different. And so I assume that you generally want some of the same things I want.
Mhm.
You want to do what you love with people you love, and to the rest, you just want to be left the fuck alone.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and I find that because I have that approach, I can usually figure out where people are coming. I use myself as a good mirror, and I understand myself very well, which definitely doesn't hurt my case at all. But the thing is, right? Right. That's the secret. I listen and I know and then I pay attention to what is said. But something I mentioned in another broadcast tonight, with a guest, I also pay attention to what isn't said because
Yeah.
that tells me a lot about what you value, or sometimes what you're afraid of.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. If there's like an avoidance, then it means it's for something. No, nothing is. Reactions are important, and you know what? That's a really good way of approaching people. Like if because if I feel that's a psychology thing. If I feel that you like me, I am generally going to tend to like you because I feel reciprocate. It's easy for me to reciprocate. If I feel that you dislike me, I'm going to tend to dislike you. So if you treat people from the get go like, hey, we have things in common, you may not, but you don't come in the offense or judgmental, then people are going to be very relaxed and people are going to, that's a good way of starting a good relationship. When
Mhm.
people are giving you the benefit of the doubt, or they're like saying, oh, or either they're giving you the benefit of the doubt, or they're making you feel that you value their opinion, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So super important because it's like a respect. You want that to be done to you, right? I mean, that's what you would
Well,
love.
if like I could come across like I'm I'm smarter or better or some other like. No one wants that. Who the fuck wants to talk to
Yeah,
someone?
no one wants, no, you don't want to talk to anybody that you feel that they're putting you down. No, definitely not. You're just going to make what you, Dale Carnegie, I read his book about how to win friends and influence people, not because I want to win people and influence them and, mind control them. No, because I was going to become a supervisor, and I'm like, what's the best way to talk to the people that I'm going to supervise? And, you want to put, well, this is not, when you want to, when you have an argument with somebody and you want something out of to get into their, because you got to work together and you want to get into the same bandwidth, you want to put them in a position when they're going to say yes. If you start like contradicting them or being defensive, then they're going to be in a position of no. And then you have two jobs: first to put them in an open position to say yes, and then to bring your point across. So if you start defensive, then people are going to get defensive, and then goodbye to the argument or the point that you wanted to make.
Well, so the thing about political, like we're not going to mention political philosophies. I don't care that much.
No, me neither. I would be a horrendous politician. Horrendous. I can't.
But I'm not even going to bother going there. But I'm going to talk today when I talk politics with people, right? I call myself. I'll tell you my political affiliation. I'm an atheist when it comes to politics.
I'm
an atheist.
You're independent.
I don't believe. I believe that a politician is in it to serve their purposes. Now, it doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. I don't necessarily jump down to that conclusion right away. But I also don't think that any decision being made is for my benefit necessarily. It's for somebody else's benefit. And with that being said, that means I don't. It's the closest thing at time I get to cynicism, honestly. But I also look at my leaders very dispassionately, right? So if I'm having a discussion about politics with somebody and they've already got an opinion about a person or about a policy, my first job, if I'm going to even get them to see my point of view, is try to get them to change their minds. If they won't do that, then there's nothing I can do. All I can do is at that point live and let live, because there's no listening, right? The listening has been shut off, at least on one side. And the thing is, with any kind of communication of an idea, right, you have to have somebody that's receptive to what you're saying.
Definitely.
You're right. And the thing is, at this point, when you look at something like politics or even religion, right? Religion's another one.
Yeah, it's another one. Yeah.
Right. You find that, like, I have no problem talking about God with anybody, whether you believe or disbelieve. That's cool. You know what? We can have a great conversation. We'll probably disagree. I'll bear with you when it's over. I'm not that hung up. I'm not that hung up on. Once upon a time, I might have been, but at this point in my life, nope.
Yeah.
I decide that, you know what, I'm going to love you for who you are, anyway, and that's just me. Yeah. So I'm willing to listen and hear people out. That doesn't mean, again, I don't always agree with people. A lot of times I keep that to myself because it really doesn't matter.
No, yeah.
It really doesn't matter. I would rather have different points of view. But the thing about it is, and this is how I see it, and this is maybe right, wrong, or different. This is just how I see it. I look at it like, if you're gonna listen to me, right? If you're gonna listen to me, you'll be open. You'll hear me out, no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? You still might disagree with me, and that's totally cool. But at least you're hearing. What people really want is to be understood. They don't want to be agreed with.
Correct.
Right? They want to be understood. If you understand somebody, you're willing to understand somebody. You can disagree about absolutely everything.
Correct.
Right? So that's what I've learned about people. I literally had a discussion today about COVID. Now, I don't like I have one really bone to pick about how it's been done, and that's simply the fact that when you get right down to it, we haven't been consistent at all. Right? So I had a wonderful discussion on the other show about that. Yay! Listen, have a good night, Shed. I hope you enjoyed the show, and thanks very much.
Bye, Shed. Nice
Yeah,
to meet you.
yeah. But what I've learned is, right. I don't need to be right. In fact, it really doesn't matter. Like I've actually
No.
learned this. Like, it really doesn't matter who's right. That's not the point.
No, sometimes the point is to get to a solution, you know.
Yeah.
And people get hung up, but most people, you know, the ego, um, it's not a bad word, but you know, it gets in the way. The word
Okay.
ego, but you know, it's like you want to hang on to your ego, or do we want to solve this? So you know, it's nice when we can have a discussion that takes us to a solution, and that way sometimes you know we get to and in the meanwhile you know get to learn a thing or two from each other, because one thing that happens in my industry is that there's so many people that are working together to create a project.
Yeah.
So even if you don't see eye to eye, there's it's so many people that you might get to learn something from them. They might have something to teach you.
Yeah.
And that is why I'll never be a good politician, I guess.
No, actually, that makes you actually you'd be a great politician. Hold on, let me stop. I guess I gotta turn. I'm going to turn my stove off. I heated up some tea a long time ago at a very slow rate. And I'll be
Yes.
right back. And
Go, go.
I'll put some food for thought for you.
Nice.
Yes.
So this is where it's going. And because I did this eye later, I didn't do it. I got interrupted. Now it's a little wall-eyed. The eye is a little lazy, but it's
Okay. So,
okay.
are you ready for my big thought? Are you ready for
Yes.
my big thought? Okay.
Shoot it.
Here's my
Shoot
big
it
thought.
down.
So, a good politician is all about compromise.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. It's
Yes.
all about the compromise. And
Yes.
the fact of the matter is, oh wow, cool. Two people. That's amazing that so many people like this so far. But
Nice.
here's the thing. The thing about it is, right? A good politician, if you're really good at it, you have a tendency to you have to listen to what people want. And the
Yeah.
fact of the matter is, you're trying to work. Your whole thing is compromise.
Yeah.
So a smart politician wants to get. You're never going to make everybody happy.
No.
That's impossible. But what you
No.
can do is you can listen to everybody and see what the majority of people want. You can make a lot of people happy, not necessarily just one or two people happy. And a good politician can go, okay, maybe Elsa likes green beans
Hmm.
and her partner likes yellow beans. Well, the easy solution is they get a bowl with both, or two separate bowls with both, depending on what your budget is, right? So, and you guys can figure it out from there. But let's say there's 5 different people, and you all had like a different kind of jelly bean. Maybe only 4 of the 5 are available. Well, a politician, maybe the guy that loves those blue jelly beans because he just likes blue jelly beans for some strange reason, goes, there's no blue jelly beans,
Hmm.
but we can find something else you might like and give it to you, right? You can't always make everybody happy, but
Hmm.
what you can do is you can listen to people, let them figure out how to solve their things on their own, but teach them like listen and then compromise,
Well, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's what politicians are supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's what's
So you might actually be better at that than you think, especially if you have managed people in the past, right? Then you've done your fair share of playing it. Like that's what a politician's supposed to do is the management aspect to it.
Yeah. 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 I mean, maybe yeah, it's whoopsie, where's my marker? Yeah, and my marker's like, no way, I'm not in this conversation. It's yeah, yeah. I mean, if I do like to think that you know, I'm interested in the well-being of people, especially the well-being of people that I work with. So you know, there's a part of me that would find that maybe fulfilling, but I'm just too afraid of all the bad parts of it. So it's not afraid in the sense that
It's a headache.
yeah, it's a headache. It's a headache
It's a
dealing
headache, and not and
with the
it's not
crooks.
it's not for everybody, right? It's
No,
for me.
do you know that you know there's different kinds of liars, like the habitual liar, the occasional liar, and then there's the professional liar. And one of these kinds of people are politicians. They're referred to as professional liars are people like politicians. And there's another profession that it's right now going out of, because they can't tell the truth all the time. You know, they have to manage what they say. So So I'm not remembering where did I read this. It was in a book of. I was reading these because I used to love reading books on how do you call it when you study people, when you how to screen people, how to understand who they are. Profiling. I used to love reading, and in those profiler books, they were saying, like, there's different kinds of people who, there's different kinds of liars, and habitual, occasional, and then professional liars are referred to as politicians. So
Well, I've interviewed some politicians for the podcast. So one of the things I learned very quickly about politicians, and you have to accept this when you're interviewing them,
yeah.
right? They believe what they're saying.
Yeah.
What you have to understand is why they believe what they're saying. They're not believing what they're saying because they're necessarily they're necessarily. You have to buy into what you're doing.
Yeah, no, you have to. If you're gonna do something that has the consequences of many people, you better be. You're not gonna do it well if you don't believe in it. You have to believe that you're doing the right thing, or
at the very least have some faith in what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta understand that when you deal with anybody in that realm, is that even if you don't agree with where they're at personally, you have to understand that maybe, just maybe, they do truly believe what they're saying, and that you have to respect that.
Yeah.
Now, for all that said, when I have interviewed, there's some, if you can deal with that, you can actually you can get an amazing conversation out of a politician.
I'm sure.
Yeah, right. You can. You just have to accept that part going in there, and you can even confront them on their BS to some degree. You can't do it completely, but you can do it to some degree, because you can make them. Because again, they're in the business of compromise.
Yeah.
That's their business. So they are willing to compromise if you give them a reason to. But a lot of times, if you're going to come at them blank slate, I hate you, I hate everything you stand for.
Yeah, you're not going to get anything out of anybody like that.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what politics has become today for a lot of people. And it's like, well, that's nice. I mean, it's what religion used to. Well, religion probably still is, to be perfectly honest with you. But it's one of those things where you just look at it and go, it is what it is, and you gotta kind of accept. You gotta accept that, right? So I've learned, like, again, understanding my understanding of human nature is like, okay, well, if I were in their position, I would have to believe it too. At least
I think so. Yeah.
Right. So, and that's, again, and once you can do that, once you start empathizing with people, that's when you can learn to truly understand where people are coming from. And once you understand that, you just realize stuff, and then about yourself, and then also just about everybody else, and suddenly you hate nobody, right? And it's a fascinating journey when you get to that point.
If you're gonna come to the table and wearing an attitude of "I hate you," you're not gonna get anything out of the other person. You're gonna get reciprocal feelings. If that person had no feelings towards you, then you can bet that you're not gonna get anything. That person's just gonna dislike you back. So no, not a good. Not a good. It's not a good tactic to come to the table already armed up and ready to punch the other person. It's not gonna go well. Don't be surprised. It's not gonna go well. My daughter stole my black, so we will just have to do with that. But she didn't steal it. She asked for it, but she never gave it back. So, oh well. There's no. This will do without black.
Yeah, that's right.
Not that I need it, but
it's okay.
I'm just realizing number 120 is not here.
Number 120 is will not take your call right now. Please leave a name and number, and he'll get back to you as soon as he possibly can.
As he possibly can, because he himself cannot come to the phone, literally.
Yeah. He's currently kidnapped.
Yeah.
Please send food.
Kidnapped by a kid.
That's right. Okay, kids can do the most terrifying things in the world,
Yeah.
They can do. So is your daughter like you?
I think, you know, oh, let me tell you a story of how like me she is.
Okay.
One time, yes, she's very witty and whimsical and whatnot, but a daydreamer and etc. One night before I had my kids, I was, you know, my husband and I were gonna go to bed, and he was really tired, but I was like still like energetic. So he's like, I really want to go to sleep, and he just turned towards the wall away from me, and you know, on his side. And I was like, I was still like, I wanted to have fun, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna. I created my finger in a pointy thing, and I dove it into his ear, making the sound. You know, he got so mad. He got so mad. He was like, "Ah, I told you," because it had been like a couple minutes, so he was probably already dozing off. And I'm like, and I'm like, "This is so worth it. He's gonna be so angry, but it's so worth it." And he was angry. He scolded me, and I was like, "This was worth it." You know, to this day, he would do that to me in my ear. So my daughter never knew of that. Fast forward 12 years, and I was learning how to meditate, and I was like sitting down and meditating, and my daughter would ask me, so what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm meditating. So how do you do that? Okay. I was like, okay, you know, you sit still, you close your eyes, and I thought she was doing this with me. And I was like, it was like 30 seconds, and I'm like, well, she's really doing this with me. It's like, so now focus on your breath, close your eyes, and then inhale. And in that second, a finger went up my nostril. It was her. She put a finger up my nostril. And I was like, you are my daughter.
I do hope you realize this particular part of the conversation is going to be my clip for YouTube. This is good. That's YouTube. That's YouTube worthy.
That's great. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell, and that's my daughter in a nutshell. And yes, you know, you can say that she's like me. Yes. I'm like, you are my daughter. Even if for some reason I was separated at birth and this happened, I would be like, this is my daughter.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of you.
It's like, you're so like me.
You're so like me. We're so alike. We know each other. We understand each other. We can gel.
Yep. And she might be at that phase where I'm not like you. She does exactly what she does exactly what you did. You're like, yeah, no, you're not like me at all.
Yeah, no. You know, that was proof, because she never knew about that thing that I did with, you know, that made like down my.
That's fantastic.
Doing the B note.
You know, I really can't feel sorry for you on that one. I really can't, because you did it first.
Yeah, I did it first. I was like, it was payback, and it was perfect. It was like this is great.
Yeah, no, that is like my favorite story ever. Like,
yeah,
that's like my favorite story ever.
It's a good story. It is a good story.
Yeah. Oh man, that's fantastic.
And my boy, let me see if he has anything. There's a drawing that my boy was doing, and my boy is 8, and he was doing this drawing of I forgot the name of this thing. It's from Sonic the Hedgehog. It's like the water creature. I just forgot his name. So he was
I don't know. I'm not cool enough.
Yeah, I forgot. I used to know, but I forgot. And he was doing this. So yeah, he's kind of like artistic like me. Okay. He's a good little dude.
He's a good little dude.
Yeah, he's a good little dude. Yeah, he's very.
Who's the oldest? Who's the oldest of the two of them?
Natalia is the oldest. They're 22 months apart, so she's like she's gonna be 10 soon, and Christian just turned 8. So
who's bigger, him or her?
He's heavier. She's obviously the oldest one, but he's heavier. He's been heavier than her for the longest time.
This is what's gonna happen there, because I have a sister, and you know they're gonna look out for each other. Right?
They do. They are best buds. How old is your sister over you?
I am old. I am the oldest.
I'm
39. She is 37 right now, but she turns 38 in literally less than a month from now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So she gets birthday and Christmas around the same time, and oh wow. Oh, I think I got fingers figured out at least, which is not too bad.
I can't wait to see it.
I'm done. This is my third piece, actually. I'm just like I said, I'm not a detail. I'll show you everything I did. Right now, I'm doing Humpty Dumpty. Is what I'm doing.
I can't wait to see.
Yeah. I learned some stuff. I see my flaws. But I'm also like, you know what? This is fun. This is like I don't have to.
Let me see if I find. Yeah, I think that you have the right attitude. Hold on, let me see if I find the a picture that I took. That is, oh, my kids hijacked my phone to photograph themselves with the filters.
I don't know your kids, but I love them already. I can already tell. We love them already.
You love them, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see if I find it, because I was doing some pavers on the on my front yard, and I was like building. I wanted to do some circular pavers, and I wasn't finding any on the stores for some reason. I was only finding square pavers, so I decided to buy a couple of molds, and I wanted to, I was making them out of concrete. So the first, concrete is not easy to, you got to learn how to mix it. And you ask anybody who knows how to use concrete, they say, oh, until they won't tell you measures. They just say, I just mix it until it feels right, which should be like, kind of like a not too goopy or not too soupy and not too dry. And I'm like, that doesn't tell me anything. So I started doing them myself, and my first paver was so awful. I cried because it was like all crackly. And by paver number 12, they look completely different. And I took a picture of both paver 1, paver 12. I'm like, this should be always in my desk, because anytime I'm like, oh, I'm doing this wrong, it's terrible, but woe is me, I will always think like, yep, paver 1, paver, so I give myself 20, the number 20, to do anything new that I do. Is like, I'm going to give myself 20 to like kind of get the gist on things, because the first one will always probably make you cry if your ego is right there invested in it. So,
well, I've had to unlearn some stuff with this, right? I just think like this is better than I ever thought I was, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
And so now.
For example, that blue right there was too much. Oh well, live and learn. Well. Continue.
You're right. But as is, right? I'm learning stuff, and that's how I'm not.
I love it.
I'm not treating this. This is gonna sound incredibly like asinine. This is about me recognizing that I'm trying to be good at this.
Yes.
But this also is about me recognizing that I'm also not very good at this, and being okay with not being very good at something. That is the secret to this.
That is the winner attitude to me.
Yeah.
I wasted so much of my life thinking I'm not good, and and just focusing on I'm not good yet, and that was the wrong attitude for the longest time, especially for an artist, because you're experimenting with media. So yeah, I mean, if that's gonna, you'll never try anything.
Yeah,
you're gonna be like that.
So with me, I'm like, interesting. Oh, actually, if I went like that, no problem. Okay, I got it. So I solved my problem just with a couple little lines. That's actually.
Ta-da! Ta-da!
I almost know what I'm doing, ladies and gentlemen. Almost.
Yes.
You're right. But the thing about it is, and this is the thing with my writing, I'm not really interested about. I'm interested in writing. I'm too interested in telling the best story I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
But I also remember this too. This is supposed to be fun.
Yeah. It's supposed to be fun. Yeah.
Right. I read about evil giant cupcakes of like Disney afternoon-esque variety on one story. Another story I'm writing about Alice in Wonderland is Pandora.
Mm-hmm.
The third story I'm writing right now is about a badass chick that's slaying dragons in parallel universes.
Wow.
So I'm having fun. And
nice.
And there's no other reason. It's fun.
That's good.
I am embracing the creation should be joy. And don't get me wrong. In my head, I always have these ideas of how to make it better, and I always follow.
Yeah, good. That's how you get better, by planning, by thinking. Yeah, how can I make this better? How can I make this better next time?
But I have eliminated the concept of making it perfect. I don't want it.
That's why my daughter said you would love her. She's like, Mom, and actually she makes me remember. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. She's always like, Mom, it doesn't have to be perfect. it's true. Yeah, allow yourself to not make it perfect, and
Well, nature isn't perfect, and actually, that's actually sometimes it works better because it's not perfect, right? It's not. It's not that. It's not when it's we all bring something to the table that's unique, right? I had this talk with Maud. I mentioned it's our ego to some degree, but
Mm-hmm.
ego gives us our individuality, and it's our
Yeah.
individuality that we express and do art of any kind.
Well,
So in that
yeah.
case, I don't want perfect. I want to be the best me I can be. And that's a
Yeah.
very different goal.
Good idea.
Right? It's a very different goal.
Good idea. It's be in a way. It's yeah. I'm reading this book of this guy named David Goggins, and he says it's like, be your own hero. Sounds very egotistical, but yeah, no, be the best person you can be yourself. Be yourself. Don't model other people, learn from other people, but be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, that's right. No, that's it. Be the hero in your own story because
of your own story. Exactly. That's a good way of putting it, because a lot of people get off put, like, be your own hero. A lot of people get off put. I come from a very religious background, and not anymore, but enough to understand. And I still I'm like, hi, if being very religious is what makes you happy, go ahead. But it wasn't really. I wasn't. To me, I like more the philosophical route. I prefer that. The ego is looked as something that's bad. But if you look at psychology, the ego is actually something healthy. It's yourself. So
it's both. You need both. I explained this to a friend of mine who I do have a Christian belief, but I also recognize something like ego is healthy.
Ego is healthy. Ego is your self-image. Ego is your self-image. You need to have it.
Yeah. Now, this is the contradiction. This is the interesting contradiction. This is the thing about it. Love is ego destroying, ironically enough, in one very real way, because it's no longer just about you anymore.
Of course, yeah.
The individuality goes away when love gets involved. However, the individuality as a businessman or woman in your case, right, is looking at it from the point of view of, okay, what am I worth? Now, I'm sure Warner Brothers pays you very well. That all said, that paycheck from Warner Brothers also makes you worth a lot on the open market as well. And you, because you have a healthy ego and you're proud of what you've done, you're going to charge accordingly. Not because
of course,
you're right. That's healthy ego.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah, to value yourself, to give yourself self-worth, your self-opinion. Ego is yourself. It's the word for is the Greek word for self. Greek, is it? I think. Yeah. For self. So yeah, healthy ego. You have to value yourself. You live with yourself. You can't put others first all the time because you live in your own head. So you need to put yourself first. And I see it in the sense of, like, if you're in an airplane and you need to put a mask, you have to put it yourself first so that you can help others. So you have to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. I believe in taking care of people and taking care of each other, but you have to start with you.
Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean, however, the ego doesn't have its flaws.
Yeah, of course.
And you got to recognize that as well.
Yeah, too much of yourself, then, well,
you're now.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
I am the greatest thing
the
world has ever seen.
Narcissism.
Right. Hey, and okay, a little ego is good, right?
Yeah. The healthy ego, the right amount of ego is good. Respect yourself. The ego where you respect yourself is what you need, and then anything else, well, it might be too much.
That's it, right? And so, I know this. I've learned this. Now, I have done this year, for me, for example, has been about going forward on every level I can. Now, from an ego standpoint, I am not sad. Okay, for my first year as a freelancer, I have made over $3,000, which isn't bad for a first year. But I'm not happy with it because I want more. Because I feel like I need more.
You got places to go.
Yeah, and things to do, people to see, and people to meet.
Exactly.
That all said, I've met some incredible people this year too, and that's that's where gratitude balances ego, is when you realize that maybe, just maybe, right? The fact that, okay, if things, this is a good thing that happened this year. I met people like yourself this year,
Yeah, yeah.
right? I would not have met you any other way.
No, exactly, exactly. Yeah.
And now I know somebody who did freaking Avatar and Wonderland and Batman, and that's and honestly, and I say this with that's freaking cool. That is
Thank you.
freaking cool. And
Thank you.
you know, and that's a like, how many people get that opportunity? How many people were willing to even look for that opportunity, right? So going back to something we said at the very beginning, right? Um, we were talking about, good, being open to the intent to things happening, right? Um, you know, the thing about what I do, the thing about what I see and what I do is, um, I let myself be open to the possibilities of things working out or things not working out, and being okay with the result no matter what. I have 8 rules to success, and that's rule 4. The rest is rain. And that basically means that you can't control the weather,
No, you can't. Yeah, exactly.
and you can't always control the result you seek to create. So instead of trying to how do I put this? Instead of trying to be so obsessed over the result, well, I never planned to meet you, but I'm happy I did.
Exactly. Yeah. This is so much fun. Yeah. Meeting you has been so much fun, and I'm glad our paths cross way. So yeah, I love the way that you are. We were talking about the palm trees in the wind and keeping yourself flexible, and it's like sometimes you gotta move. You gotta be flexible with the punches that are coming straight at you, and see the possibility of that if you can. If you can, sometimes it's hard.
Sometimes it just,
Sometimes it's hard.
right. Sometimes you get your butt kicked,
Yeah.
but that's life too. Hey, listen, if life was all sunshine and rainbows, we wouldn't appreciate the pretty colors when they come our way. So that's life. Now, I have goals for next year. Now, who knows? Like, one of the things I've also let myself do is, because even though as a broadcaster I only have about a handful of episodes under my belt, as a podcaster I have nearly 500 episodes under my belt. I decided to try every crazy thing I could, including I've actually applied at Warner, believe it or not, but I've also applied at lots of other companies because I think I'm worth it. Now,
Of course.
the worst thing that can happen is they say no.
Yeah.
And if they say no, I'm exactly where I am now. And I'm still meeting great people like yourself.
That's
So
amazing.
embracing the opportunities that come my way. And I think, maybe you disagree with me on this, or do agree with me on this, I'm not sure. This is where my ego is very healthy. I think when it comes to this, I'm undeniable. And because of that, I think sooner or later, the universe is going to give me what I want. And that's my opinion. Now, it may not be the way I intended it or the way I see it happening, and I'm good with that too. I've learned to embrace my accents. Accents are good, right? I'm okay with. If my whole life someone wants to say you're a lucky person, you know what I'll say? You're absolutely right. I'm good with that. I'm good with that completely. I don't need, you know, it's too much. There's too much building yourself from the ground up. It, but through hard work is such an overrated concept. If I fall into it by accident, I'll take it.
I love it. I love that philosophy. I love it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I am taking notes from your attitude because I'm working on the good balance of the ego thing. So it's something that I'm still on that journey, trying to toughen up my ego and be healthy. And all I can say is I have like full blown admiration for what I'm hearing of your attitude and your resilience and all your perseverance. You truly are a go getter, and because you are and you believe in it, you will achieve things. Because obviously you will never achieve anything if you don't start. Motion gets results. So if it's what you were striving for, or if your journey happened to move 2-3 degrees to the to the west or the east, and you end up somewhere else, you still will end up somewhere very amazing because you have that self-confidence and that drive, and that's the first thing. I love it. I love what hats
So
off to you.
yeah, so I'll give you a piece of advice, and then we will wrap up the official part of this at this point. But this is the advice for you.
Yes.
Always think of that chocolate chip cookies,
Yes.
and here's why. Chocolate chip cookies was an accident.
No kidding. Really?
What a great accident, right?
That's the best accent. Those are one of my favorite. That's my if
Yeah.
not my favorite cookie, that's on my top 3.
Yeah. So, but somebody accidentally put chocolate chips in cookie dough.
Oh wow.
It was an accident. It wasn't on purpose. What a wonderful thing, isn't that?
Of course. Oh my God. I'm gonna keep that in mind.
Yeah. So just think of it like this. Not all your accidents are going to be bad. Now, some of your accidents are going to be the other kind of chocolate chips that are not so fun. But some of them are going to be truly amazing. I think the smartest thing you can always do is learn from your accidents and the good and the bad. Right? Life is about discovery. Look, I mean, strictly speaking, on a financial level, I don't really got much. I don't have much right now, nor do I need much right now. I think maybe that's what's holding me back a little bit. Is I'm a man that feels he needs very little, and since I have very little, right? And I'm good with that, believe it or not. But I find it very I'm free, and that's my advantage. Is I'm free to do whatever I choose, and that freedom has given me perspective. So
I love it. I love to hear that. Yeah, I am very very. I don't want to say my words in English are failing me sometimes, but I'm very impressed by all this, by how you interview. It's so easy to talk to you, and how fun it is to talk to you and explore subjects. And also, you know a lot about philosophy, and you're a fantastic person. I like you, Josh.
thank you. I like you too. And I get the impression like when you do interviews, you don't usually talk this much.
No, actually, no. My interview that I did with 101 Tales, I felt that I was like a little nervous and everything. But with you, I've never been nervous, so that's good.
I'm good.
Yeah, I was kind of nervous there, and I dorked out a little bit, and I had a little technical difficulty showing a clip that I showed, and I'm like, oh God. But you gotta do these things. It's like the pavers. The more you talk in public and you put yourself out there, the better you're gonna be at unfolding yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So here's the bad news. We're going to have to wrap up the drawing part of the drink and draw and wrap this up, unfortunately. However, what you've done is super impressive. Like, people should just take a quick look at this bad.
All right, guys. This is not done completely
No.
because it's all about the layers. And let me show you. It's the work in progress. So that was my reference, Johnny Depp. And as I told people when you went to the kitchen, he's got a little bit of a lazy eye on the eye that I drew last. So it's still a work in progress because art takes a while. But I'm pretty happy with the direction of this. So it's been a pleasure to talk to you and draw with you guys.
Okay, so it's only fair I show you. I did 3 drawings. This was Alice and the Griffin, the drawing 1. Now, this is where I wish I had a little bit more experience coloring, but I'm really proud of the shapes I did with that. I think.
Yes.
The shape was good. The color not so much, but you know what? That's fine. I learned something from this, right? Markers. Now, number 2, this one I'm really happy with, the White Rabbit. And I
love it. I love it. I love your griffin. I love your griffin.
Yeah. So there's that. And then I got one more. I did one more. And that was, I love this one. Humpty Dumpty.
I love the face. That's so cute.
Yes. That's me. That's what I did. That's what I did.
What's the little thing that looks like a little pumpkin it's a pumpkin, yeah.
Yeah, it is a pumpkin, yeah.
Yeah.
It was well, see, it was really going to be a teapot, but I realized I did the top part too small. So I can make it a pumpkin. So
oh my God.
I got to play. So again, I used a little imagination with these 2 especially. I added a little rabbit hole with the rabbit, which I'm really actually kind of proud of.
Yes, I love I noticed the whole. Please do me a favor and take snapshots and send it to me. Send them to me to Messenger so I can see the details. But I love the Griffin, and I love the Humpty Dumpty. His pouty face. He's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no.
So here, I'll show you the actual reference I used for Humpty Dumpty here for anyone who's curious. This is the annotated Alice for anyone
Nice.
who actually is wondering what I did here. So that's what I did. Like I chose this book because one, I'm using it myself. I also because Alice is not the blonde you typically see. And again, my Greek Alice is not blonde either. It's a Greek.
No. She's Greek.
Yeah, exactly. So that's for me. This was a very good book for me to utilize and use. That's why I did what I did. And like I said, Elsa here is a much more accomplished artist than I am. That all said, I got to come out of my comfort zone, and she did the same thing tonight.
Yeah.
So I got two final questions for you, and then we get to the wonderful plugging of stuff. Did you learn anything tonight? And what did you learn?
You know what? I think if anything new, maybe some new music that I'm gonna check. But I think that I learned. I'm always very self-conscious when I'm talking on doing interviews, especially with the permanence of the internet. But I think I found a good way of having a conversation without feeling scared of the medium. So, but it's in part a lot to you. You're really good at leading a conversation. But I think I can be. I can do this. Talk with people publicly on the interwebs.
No, you can. You're fun. Just let yourself be yourself, and hopefully the interviewer is much like me. It will let you just be you.
Yes.
So this is the part where we get to the wonderful plugs of what's going on. So from last time to this time, has anything come out since? And if not, plug that. And if not, plug what you did last, and then where people can find you.
Well, the plug, there's going to be a cool movie that's going to be coming on in January. It's called Batman Solo the Dragon. I think I did a cool fight there on that one, and it's a 70s style inspired by the show Kung Fu from the 70s and all the 70s, kind of like martial arts stuff. So that's a movie that I would think that some people would love to see, because I think it was pretty much fun. So that's the last work that has been announced. And I still don't have a personal project to plug, but maybe one day I will. I have my stories that I want to tell, so I just need a little more time to prepare those.
Seriously, a lot of people would love to be in your position. You just did freaking Batman. That's pretty.
Yeah, I know it's fun. It's fun. I can't say that I don't like that. I love superheroes, and it's a cool story. So yeah, that's my.
Next time I do have you on the show, though, we're going to completely geek out on Green Lantern again. I promise. I absolutely.
Oh, we will. I can't wait.
No, this launching this has taken a lot, but trust me, all I've been doing is I've been thinking about it, right? So believe it or not, and not to my surprise, how's the hardest one of them to figure out completely?
Do you think so? Do you think so?
Well, because everybody else is more of a personality. Mm-hmm. Like Guy is about trying to prove himself. John is about what he overcomes. Kyle is about his legacy. Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz, it's about Simon becoming a better person, and it's about Jessica just overcoming their fear that's always inside her.
You're right. You're right.
So I get them. And then there's Joe from Far Sector, which she has some similarities to Jon Stewart, but she's also kind of her own. She's really unique and on her own, and kind of out, like, she's the fish out of water. Hal is Green Lantern is easy, but Hal Jordan is actually hard.
Yeah, right? You're right. He's like kind of like very straightforward, so you have to find the nuance. And what is his nuance? Because he's like this daredevil. So yeah, I can see.
His fearlessness is actually part of his fun, though, too. It's just the fact that he's like, let's just do it. Like, fuck it.
Yeah. Screw you. Don't take yourself seriously. So yeah, that's what I kind of like about him. But it's like, nah, he's just, let's do it. So, but yeah, it's true. It's like you want to find the nuance in it, and he's like a big, broad stroke of a character.
Yes.
I'm not saying that that's negative, but yeah, it's like finding the detail. I understand that. Yeah, you can always go to the psyche of John being like, I'm having this trouble, or
especially since I have like this evil master plan with how to tie him into the whole series in a very fun way without him being in the whole series. So anyway, the greatest Green Lantern arc, you got like that. Well, I'll figure it out. Don't worry about
Yeah.
But that.
Let's bounce that off each other. It would be so cool.
No, absolutely. You know what? Absolutely. Yes, folks, I'm playing with Green Lantern right now.
And folks, sorry to all the politicians out there. If you're good, I love you. I don't mean to bash on your profession. It's just that I would be very bad at it. But respect to the people that prefer respect. I don't want to say that I hate people. Respect to you guys, to the good ones.
Okay, so it comes to the last part. How can people find you? How can people actually find
Well,
you?
I have I'm on Facebook, but I opened an Instagram account, and right now I'm posting my doodles. So which I'll post this later. But you can find me on Instagram. I think that will be easier because my Facebook I keep in track with my family. So Insta, I think it's more of a I'm gonna use that more of a public medium.
So is it Elsa Garagarza on Instagram?
Elsa Garagarza at Instagram. It's just my name, first name, last name, no dashes, no hyphens, no nothing. Elsa Garagarza at insta.com. And I think that's a good way to chat with people. So
absolutely. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is this week's Drink and Draw. There will not be another Drink and Draw for the rest of this year because, unfortunately, next week is Christmas and the week after is New Year's. Kind of hard to do a Drink and Draw on a Friday when Fridays are where the holidays are at. But I do have the next Drink and Draws pretty much for the next 2 months lined up already, which is kind of amazing how quickly that's actually come together. So you'll definitely see more of these going forth. And who knows? Maybe, just maybe, I might do it during the holidays. I might do an impromptu one. Maybe I'll go to Elsa. Hey, Elsa, you want to draw some more? Maybe she'll say, yeah, and sure. I got rich, and, maybe introduce some people and it's like just we'll have fun. That might happen. You never know. But there will be more Drink and Draws definitely for sure in the new year. Beyond all that, guys, thank you for watching, listening, however you enjoyed this podcast. Subscribe to this podcast. If you're watching it, go to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/JustJoshingPodcast. If you are on my YouTube channel is Joshua Pantoresco. Stay inspired, keep shining in the chaos, and keep shining in the darkness. And thank you, Elsa, for coming on.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, and thank you, Josh.
All right.